Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's third video. So we're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's third video. Day 10 going to take us to around the 5th of November. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. We're going to look at weeks. Have a look at the CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, which gets us well into the second half of November. I'll get on that for you in a second. Just say that the first video today was our 7 AM forecast. And we'll also release the ECM WF 30-6 weeks forecast today for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well. It's an interesting watch, that one. Could we be shaping up for a cold November? Have a look and see. We will, of course, cover November in this video as well. So, yeah, please like, share, subscribe on video. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And just to say that we've got to put on around another 30 subscribers now to get to 12.4k. So, please give us a sub. Tell friends and family to subscribe as well. And get us to 12.4k. And of course, the ultimate target at the moment is 13,000 subscribers. So please, help get us to 12.4 and also 13k subs. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, okay, let's start the video then. We're going to begin by having a look at what's going on in the stratosphere for this. Now, we don't normally look at stratospheric temperatures over North Pole in the videos this early in the season. This is normally something we start looking at from like December onwards when we get into winter proper. But unusual developments going on in the stratosphere over North Pole Mountain. So this is from the JMA. We look at this sort of stuff in the winter updates as well. So, check out winter updates every week. Keep an eye on what's happening on the stratosphere. But just want to begin... I just want to begin this update looking at the stratosphere as well. So the grey line is a trend line. You see, but stratospheric temperatures should be getting colder over North Pole at 10 HPA at this time of year, reaching their lowest point sometime around December. So like December into Christmas period is when you generally have your coldest upper air temperatures on average. And then lifting, stratospheric temperatures, I should say, on average. And then lifting up, through the rest of winter and into spring, reaching the peak in the summer. So at this point, you would expect the temperature to be getting colder. Actually, we've had a bit of a stratospheric warming over the past week. So you see from the black line that the temperature has lifted up, which is very unusual. It's not lifted up all that much. There's not a sudden stratospheric warming. Some people do get confused, like between minor warmings and major sudden stratospheric warmings. You know the difference on these charts because the black line will do something like that. You have a sudden stratospheric warming. So it's not that, but it is like a minor warming that has occurred at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. But the main reason for looking at this is not that it's anything overly dramatic in itself. It's just that it's very unusual for that to happen in October. Normally, the black line would be doing something a bit like that. Past few years has tended to actually do something a bit like that with very cold early season stratospheric temperatures over the North Pole. So this year we're doing something rather different, something we've not seen for a while, I don't think, which is that we're getting we have got a relatively warm temperature at 10 HPA and above average in what is otherwise, quite a cooling time of year on average. At 30 HPA has been a similar story as well. This is lower down, closer to the troposphere. So again, we can see that black line has sort of lifted up away from the long-term average of the grey line, and so both 10 and 30 HPA we have warmer than average temperatures, in the stratosphere. Again, not dramatically so, not enough that's going to set up northern blocking in its own terms. It's not like some stratospheric warming that will eventually lead to major northern blocking, but enough probably to weaken the polar vortex, to make the polar vortex a little bit displaced, perhaps. And yeah, just quite unusual what we're seeing in the stratosphere at the moment, and a little bit different to what we've had over the past few years when we've tended to see the black line doing something a little bit more like that in the early part of the season. This is how the GFS is forecasting temperatures to develop at 10 HPA over the next couple of weeks. This is from metroshield.fr. So we've got blue colours, that's the coldest temperatures in the stratosphere at 10 HPA. So you can see that a lot of the warming, a lot of this minor warming is actually coming from like the Pacific side of the Arctic and also the far east of Siberia, and also to some degree from Canada as well, and that sort of displaced the polar vortex at its roots. That's where we've got the coldest temperatures in the stratosphere. That's displaced the polar vortex a little bit more towards Europe and northwestern parts of Russia, where we've got the coldest stratospheric temperatures. So yeah, you can see like how the temperature is above average, can't you, over the top of the North Pole. Now, as we run through, we can see that the polar vortex will continue to be displaced, actually, at its roots over towards northern Europe and western Russia as we go through the next week or so, beginning to start inching its way back towards the North Pole itself. And as we carry on running through, we see that those blue colours do sort of start pushing back towards the North Pole and Greenland and Canada, that sort of area, over into the extended range, but not overly cold, no more than around average, around minus 68 degrees. So if we go back here, minus 60, 70, it'll be about average. So the grey line at the beginning of November is around there, so that's like minus 65 to minus 70 degrees, something like that. So yeah, nothing overly dramatic going on with those temperatures as well. No colder than average, certainly not desperately severely cold. And we have got another warming that's beginning to gather pace by the 7th of November. Got another warming that's beginning to gather pace over Siberia, interestingly. Again, it's not a sudden stratospheric warming, but it's quite a significant warming that's occurring over Siberia there. And yeah, that is early days to be seeing that as well. So stratosphere-wise, it does all look quite interesting and a little bit unusual, a little bit far removed compared to what we've had over the past few years at this point of the year, early on in the season. Another area to look at would be 30 HPA over Canada, because sometimes you can get a sudden stratospheric warming, and that's like liquid temperature at like 30, 40 degrees. You can get a sudden stratospheric warming that occurs over Canada in November. And that's something else that we'll have to keep an eye on, maybe, because we have got interesting stratospheric developments going on. So maybe we haven't had a Canadian warming in November at 30 HPA for a very long time. So maybe this might be the year that does that. So that will be something that we can keep an eye on via the charts from the University of Berlin. But yeah, certainly stratosphere-wise, it does all look quite interesting, I have to say, as we're going into the early part of towards, I suppose, the early part of the winter. Right, so there'll be a lot more about that over the next few weeks and months. We tend to focus on what's happening in the stratosphere more in the winter, but due to the fact that this is quite an unusual start to season, I thought I'd have a look at it today. Right, so essential temperature is standing at 12.4. Provisional to yesterday, the 25th of October, that's around 1.5 degrees above average. We're expecting it to come out quite close to 12 degrees now, I think, due to slightly milder than anticipated end to October that we're going to have. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. So looking at Cardiff today, red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Cardiff. So we're going to be above average through the next few days. It's going to be really quite mild, if not relatively warm, actually. I mean, it's the middle part of the week across much of the country. But there is a cooling trend, that's still in evidence. So as we go into the weekend, we see those upper air temperatures cooling down to about average. And then into next week, we actually go cold and average. So still this idea that the first week or 10 days of November shaping up to be quite cold, actually. Quite chilly, at the very least. Maybe cold. With much more of a northwesterly or northerly influence to the wind direction. There's going to be lots of dry weather for the next 2 or 3 days away from the northwest of the country. It will be very wet across western parts of Scotland, northwest Wales, northwest England, but further south it will be relatively dry for the next couple of days. But certainly by the end of the week and into the weekend, all areas are facing what looks like a little bit of a deluge. As we go to the first week of November, as it gets colder, we probably have a little bit of a drying trend, although it does still look a bit on the unsettled side, really. Temperature anomalies on the 26th of October to the 3rd of November are above average. Precipitation anomalies from the 26th of October to the 3rd of November are going to be average to wetter than average, except across eastern Scotland, where it will be a bit drier than average. The latest wind flow map from earthnorthschool.net shows that we're bringing up southwesterly winds today. So that's bringing those milder temperatures, of course, up from the middle of the Atlantic, but is also moisture laden and will bring lots of wet weather over the next couple of days, particularly to northwestern parts of the country exposed to those southwesterly winds. Right, let's have a look at some chart data then. So this is how the UK Met Euro is looking for Friday, midnight on Friday. Low pressure pushing across the country, trying to take a band of rain with it. We may get a little bit of a break late Friday and into Saturday, but only at the expense of the next area of low pressure going to come up from the southwest. Now, this is one to keep an eye on. Got the area of low pressure there off the coast of Spain and Portugal at midnight on Saturday. By the time you get through to midnight on Sunday, that area of low pressure looks like it's in the southern North Sea, so it's gone in that sort of direction. The UK Met Euro is not yet developing that into a significant storm, but it's a kind of thing, if it gets caught up in injection, it's kind of thing that might deliver a spell of severe gales and heavy rain, and particularly focused on England and Wales over the weekend. So it's one to watch. Anyway, and then as we move on into midnight on Monday, we find that we've got another area of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. That's been further bouts of rain. And we finish up, as far as we go to, with the UK Met Euro on Tuesday the 2nd November, I should say, where we're looking unsettled then, with low pressure bringing further wet weather, and we're on the cool side of jet stream by this point as well, so getting colder through the course of next week. That's as far as we go with UK Met. Let's look at GFS. Again, low pressure bearing down on us at the end of the week and into the weekend. There's that low pressure there at midnight on Saturday to the west of Spain and Portugal. Look where the low pressure is by midnight on Sunday. And that low pressure then is in that sort of position. Again, it's not being developed by the model into a major storm, but because it's coming up from quite a long way south in that sort of fashion, needs to be kept an eye on. It could deliver, at very least, some very wet weather. Then we go through to midnight on Monday, 1st of November, looking unsettled and pretty cool, if not quite cold. And then moving up towards day 10. We keep it unsettled, but turn the wind into the north. So it's up, pull down some really quite cold air for the middle part of next week from the north. That could bring some wintry showers to northern and northeastern parts of the country. Day 10, which is bonfire night, 5th of November, starts to move a new area of low pressure in from off the Atlantic, bringing a further bout of rain pouts. Then over the weekend of the 6th and the 7th of November, we begin to move high pressure in from off the Atlantic, so it turns drier, but will be quite cold with that high pressure, and certainly cold enough for overnight frost, maybe some fog. That high pressure sticks around for a few days and then starts pushing back up towards the North Atlantic, back into the North Atlantic and pushing up towards Greenland, which suggests, that might be starting to hint at a bit of a northerly plunge by the end of the GFS midnight run, which today gets us to the 11th of November. That high pressure is definitely sort of retrogressing, going in that sort of direction, and this low around Iceland could start to push southwards and bring another spell of northerly winds. So this could be quite a cold first half to November, to be honest, that we're seeing here. This is how the GFS 6 is looking. Again, low pressure moving in off the Atlantic at the end of the week and the weekend, looking unsettled with bouts of rain in from the west. That carries on into the early part of next week. Could be pretty wet and windy, and eventually we go colder next week as well as we turn the wind into the north. That could bring wintry showers into the northern part of the country. More low pressure diving in from the northwest as we go through to day 10, which is the 5th of November, bonfire night. Again, has that low diving in from the north, high pressure pulled out into the Atlantic. Notice the northwest-southeast alignment to the jet stream, so that's allowing these areas of low pressure to decouple from Iceland and move in that sort of direction. Had a lot of that last winter. Is that coming back for this winter? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? We go beyond day 10 to 6th of November. We're in those northerlies. Again, low pressure off the coast of East Anglia, high pressures out to our west. So, it looks pretty chilly at the very least. And then in the very extended range, we start to ridge a high pressure in, so it turns drier, but will still be quite cold with that ridge of high pressure. Certainly cold enough for overnight frost, maybe some fog, I would have thought. And as we get to the very end of the GFS 6, a new area of low pressure is moving in from off the Atlantic, but still with quite a bit of ridging away to the north. Got relatively high pressure around Greenland, for example, so that could push this area of low pressure through here and pull the wind back into the north again. Certainly nothing overly mild showing up here for the first sort of 10 days of November. It could be quite a cold first 10 days of November. Moving on to GM. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button. Make sure to sub to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And drop a comment. Let's don't think about missing all of our videos. Thank you so much. Right, GM looks like that. Again, low pressure is moving in off the Atlantic at the end of the week and into the weekend. And into part of next week as well. We say very unsettled with low pressure, being bouts of rain and cooler or even colder temperatures. The low pressure transfers eastwards. It will turn the wind into the north, moving up towards day 10, which is the 5th of November. Again, high pressure ridges back in off the Atlantic, but within a relatively cool air mass. But later next week, it does at least turn a little bit drier. And then we've got the ECM, it looks like that. So once more, we have the low pressure dominating the weather over the weekend and into the early part of next week too. Eventually, the low pressure transfers more towards the east, and we start to bring in a colder northerly wind. Those northerly winds stay with us through the middle part of next week. It is a proper northerly, that. The air is originating from around here. You know, right way from the Arctic and pushing southward. So if that comes off, it's like over a week away, so it may not verify, but a lot of models are doing this. If it comes off, we will really feel the drop in temperature next week with those northerly winds. And then we finish up by day 10 with the ECM bringing the next area of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. That will bring further spells of rain, but we're still sort of pretty cool with that. Still lining up jet stream northwest southeast, and we're still on the cold side of the jet stream as well. So a cold and wet first week to November suggested there. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from tometeo.com. So the rain is really in the northwest over the next couple of days. Very, very wet through southwest Scotland, Northern Ireland, just into far northwest of England, like Cumbria, down to the far northwest of Wales. Going to be some very, very wet weather. Could be some localised flooding in those areas. That rain just gets stuck. And so many hours of really wet weather in the northwest. Eventually, by the end of the week, the weather system will push eastwards, taking rain into the east. And then we all go unsettled, you know, as we get through to the end of the week and into the weekend. Then we're all in for bouts of rain. As it starts to get colder, some of that begins to turn a little bit wintry over the high ground of the north. And then as we go towards day 10, actually we start seeing a little bit of sleet and snow suggested by parts of Wales, for example. Next low starts to move in as we move towards day 10. That brings heavy rain, and there is a suggestion of a little bit of snow mixed in with that through high ground in northern areas. Of course, rain further south, but a few flakes falling with that wet weather around day 9 and 10. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10. Which gets us to the 5th of November. This is from ECM.int. Today, the charts have not updated at the Icelandic Met Office for some reason, but I do not know why, but we can look at them, you know, in another way from ECM itself. So, we've got 19 members of the ECM ensembles showing below average heights to our north and east. That's low pressure above average heights pulled out to our west and northwest, sending the jet stream and the wind flow and direction on a northwest southeast alignment, and so with that you'd expect it to be pretty cool and unsettled. Then coming to this cluster, we have 14 members of the ECM ensembles with a mid-Atlantic ridge. Low pressure is to our southeast, so that's going to be pretty cool, at least bringing wind from the northwest if not the north, and quite unsettled too. Moving down to this scenario, we have got 12 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure more or less over country and to our east. Mid-Atlantic ridge extending back to Greenland and, you know, proper northern blocking. So that's unsettled and we're quite cold with that. Same with jet stream on the northwest southeast line. We are on the cold side of the jet with that. And then down here we have got 6, a very minority option but again have low pressure over to the east of the country, high pressure east to our west. That's just a little bit flatter, a little bit westerly, so probably a little bit milder. But most of the scenarios look quite cold and wet, I have to say, you know, around day 10. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This will get us to the 10th of November. We have 15 members of the ECM ensembles reaching high pressure in from the Atlantic, but still we're bringing quite cold winds from the north or northeast of that, so drier but quite cold. Then down here we have got 11 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure sort of to our east again with mid-Atlantic ridge. We're on the cold side of the jet stream with that, so again that'd be quite a chilly scenario to say the least. We have got 10 members of the ECM ensembles just here, still with low pressure over to the east of the country, mid-Atlantic ridge. So yes, that's going to pull in the wind from the west to northwesterly direction. And then we've also got a lot of options in 2 weeks' time. We've got 8 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure over to the east of the country, even with perhaps a Scandinavian high being hinted at there. That will bring in the wind from the east, and so that will be dry but cold. And then finally, we've got 7 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure around Iceland, high pressure to our southwest. That's a flatter, milder, westerly type scenario. But day 10 and like day 14, most of the scenarios are suggesting pretty cool, if not quite cold weather, I think, here. Finally, CFS V2, so it's a 500 millibar heights breaking down to week periods. The first week period is going to take us from the 26th of October to 1st of November. The coming week sees high pressure, but we've been under for a while now, moving away to the east, low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, turning more unsettled, but at least it will be mild. Week 2 looks like that. It's going to be the 2nd to the 8th of November. Just looks really unsettled there. Low pressures in off the Atlantic. So, yeah, plenty of rain and a drop in temperature likely as well. Week 3 is the 9th to the 15th of November. A little bit messy. Low pressure around Greenland. High pressure up towards Svalbard. High pressure in the North Atlantic as well. Low pressure around there. So very, very complicated and messy pattern. I would suspect we're still pretty cool and unsettled though with that one. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 16th to 22nd of November. Heights rise then to our south. Lower to the north, we go milder here. Turning the wind back into the west. But it will be mostly dry down in the south. And we're done. So if you enjoyed this video, please smash your like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Drop a comment. Let's know what you think about this and all of our videos. Don't forget to tell your friends and family to subscribe. And you'll all be able to see future weather content if you do that, including future winter updates, future live streams, and future Christmas updates as well. More about that in a second. So I've got to get to around 30. I've got to put on another 30 subscribers to get to 12.4k. So that's our next mini target, with the ultimate target at the moment, 13,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for getting us this far, everybody. Right, so that's it for today's video. Just tell you what's coming up tomorrow. So we can start on 7 AM board. Go into USA forecast as well. Tomorrow, as always, on a Wednesday, have a look at weather in the United States. 10 to 14 day for the UK and Europe as well. And then we're going to have our final, third and final sneak peek for Christmas 2021 tomorrow evening at around 7 PM. It's going to be an interesting watch. It's ahead of the start of the Christmas countdown next week. We'll be starting Christmas countdown next week. But one more little sneaky peek for Christmas for you tomorrow at 7 PM. So make sure you're around the channel for that. It's going to be a bit of fun and a bit of a laugh. That's it then. So that's what's coming up tomorrow. But for today's videos, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.